What's up, everybody? I'm Matrix Andrea, and we're going to continue our Dark Souls 2 New Game Plus playthrough. Today we're going to Drangleic Castle, and we're starting at the Ruined Fork Road bonfire. So I'll show my stats, and then I'm going to show my gear, and then we'll get moving. The first thing I did this morning was when I turned the game on and I was playing, I went off to a few places and picked up some of the items I left behind, including some chunks and some other things, and I upgraded a few weapons, including my bow, which I don't use for damage, but why not? I need to spend my souls on something. I also upgraded a halberd, which I don't have the stats for. I upgraded my strength and dexterity to be able to wield the claymore one-handed, but the halberd helps with the throne watcher and the throne defender when I have to fight them, so I just wanted to go ahead and get a plus 10 version, and then I'll use that when I fight with the two of them. Yeah, there's two guys over here. It's just some junk treasure. So it's always helpful to pull the guy that's not using the bow out, and then you can fight with him without having to worry about the other guy, because the other guy will pull his bow out and he'll just stand over there like an idiot and wait. This used to be a ring of life protection over here in the original release of the game. As far as I know, in the Scholar version, the only place you can get a Ring of Life Protection is from Felkin the Outcast. So I bought one of those because later on there's going to be a spot where it's likely that I'll die. In true Dark Souls 2 tradition, it's a bullshit way to die, so I keep that in the Ring of Soul Protection for when those occurrences happen. That way I don't have to use a human effigy to bring myself back to life. I don't care so much for the souls because I'm not really using them for anything, but just as a fuck you to the game, I keep those rings just so I don't lose anything on death. In the game's original release, repairing the Ring of Life Protection was something like 3,000 souls. They really increased the price in the Scholar version because people would run around with the Ring of Life Protection on and then they would die, and then, oh well, they would just go get it fixed, put it back on, and run through the rest of the stage without risk. And that was fine because this game's got a lot of bullshit difficulty in it. So I totally understand that there is the entrance to the third DLC, and I'll pick up the item in Drangleic Castle. I'm going to run through about half of the castle, probably up to the dual Dragon Rider boss fight, and then I'll let my computer catch up to what I'm doing so that my recording software doesn't crash, and then I'll pick it up from there after it gets finished. So a lot of these invisible guys, again, if you come back here with the Eye of the Priestess item from the Crown of the Ivory King, you can see these guys. One of the major, somewhat cheap things about them is that they look like player shadows, and if you're not expecting these guys to be enemies, then they'll sneak up on you and kill you, which is somewhat unfair because you see player shadows running around while you're online. And the game fucks with you and it tricks you by throwing enemies in that look exactly like that. Notice these guys are using lightning bolts because we're in the rain and getting wet, so it does extra damage with lightning. And there's a crystal lizard up here, so I'll see if I can kill it. Yeah, that's a good one. 3 chunks.
This castle is isolated, but nonetheless you must forge on to bring an end to your journey and mine.
And then we got 2 of these mammoth knights. I can't remember what they're actually called. Mastodons, I think it was. 2 big guys in open space. How are you supposed to fight this? So they're getting magic. Again, with my Faith character, I would always just shoot them with poison arrows. But since I've got Dark Orb, I'm just going to be cheap about it. Game's going to be cheap, so I'll be cheap. Now that it's just down to me and him, I'll take care of him by myself. One of the things that sucks is that when you're trying to two-hand your weapon, if you're standing on top of something like a bloodstain and a message, you'll hit the triangle button to two-hand the weapon, and then it won't work because it's switching between looking at a message and a bloodstain. And then up here from New Game Plus, there's a red phantom that comes running at you with that big hammer, so I'm going to see if I can poison him too. And then I'll see if I can just bash him into the ground. Yeah, and he's trying that spin to win bullshit that people used to complain about with halberds. Such a nice, easy way to beat somebody. Just bash him into the ground multiple times, and when he gets up, do it again. The NPCs are pretty stupid, so it's a good way to take care of it. And then up here, you've got to kill these guys close enough to these golem statues to have them take up the souls, otherwise the door up here won't open. And I used to hear about the game glitching back when it first released. People would try to open the doors to Drangleic Castle and they wouldn't get the souls into the golems. And shit. Well, I'll cut back to this in just a minute then. Alright, so after that bullshit disaster, the door should open, so I'm just going to come over here because the enemy's aggro range ends over here on the stairwell, and the door just takes its sweet time opening, so I'm going to wait for just a minute. And I died a second time running back up here. So I lost all of the souls that I had. Not that it really mattered, but seriously, fuck those guys. That was bullshit. I had 4 knights right on top of me, plus one of the cyan knights decided to come to life. So I'm going to talk to Chancellor Welliger, and then I will cut this out of the video. So give me just 1 second. Chancellor Welliger sells infinite repair powders, so that's what I spent my souls on. If you come here in New Game Plus, he sells the spells that you get from Covenant activity. So if you're not interested in doing stuff from the Covenants, then you can buy whatever spells are left over from him. One of them's Great Chaos Fireball, and he's also got Wrath of the Gods for sale. And I can't remember offhand what the last one is. And the last Sublime Bone Dust is in this doorway right here. In the game's original release, this door was empty. It was just a room with nothing inside it. So if you were going to troll people, you could trap them in here with an invader and just let your invaders go to town on them. I saw a few videos like that on YouTube some time ago. So you can drop down here and one of those royal guards will come after me. And then there's a bonfire through that doorway there. This is the bonfire for the end game. When you get the King's Ring, you can come back down here and open the doorway down the stairs, and you can go fight the Throne Watcher and Throne Defender. And I'm going to do that as soon as I get the King's Ring, just to get it over with. Now, you got to kill enemies next to these doorways to get them to open. Otherwise, they stay closed. And then there's a couple of statues at the end of the room, and if you kill enemies next to them, they'll hold up their pots and it turns on a light. I'm not going to go through most of them. The Frozen Flower opens up the third DLC. I'm not going to go through most of the doorways in that other room because I don't want to waste a bunch of time recording that shit. And there's also a bunch of ruins, sentinels, pretty much in each and every one of the doors. Dark Diver Grandal is in one of those doorways, and I'll talk to him off camera because I might fight the Dark Lurker. I'm still not entirely sure about whether I want to do that or not. But I'll talk to him sometime later off camera. This room right here, these statues used to shoot non-stop poison arrows out of their eyes at you. And you were going to get poisoned if you came in here. Scholar changed it, well, somewhat changed it, so that they fire as soon as you open the chest, and then you can usually get out of here safely, but sometimes you still get shot. That's what just happened to me. I wasn't expecting that either. Now, this room used to just be filled with 3 cyan knights. Now they're turned to statues, and they only aggro and come to life when you get close to them. Much better than the original release. Yeah, I keep trying to backstab that guy, but it just doesn't want to work. That picture right there is Nashandra, the endgame boss, and as soon as you get close enough to it, you get curse buildup, which should give away that something's not quite right with her. When you come up here a little bit, you get invaded by the nameless usurper, and if you look close at her, you can tell that it's Lycia, the cleric that you meet in Hade's Tower of Flame. She invades you more than once during the game, too. And you can find something in the Undead Crypt where you can invade her world, which incidentally is just where she's standing in Majula. and she'll call you out on finding out who she is. Every time I do the guard break attack on these guys, I always miss. So it's easy to miss here, but there's a ladder. And if you climb down this ladder, there's a hidden bonfire. I'm not going to rest at it, but I'll light it up just in case something else happens. And up here we have a throne room with Nashandra sitting in the background. So I'm going to edit this out, so give me one more second. Her dialogue is somewhat sinister when you listen to her talk. So she doesn't sound like she's quite normal. Something I forgot to mention when I was standing in the front of the castle with Chancellor Welliger, if you open up the door behind him, it's a throne room, and if you go in there on New Game Plus, you fight 2 pursuers at the same time, and if you kill one of them, drops the Ring of Blades +2, so if you're playing a physical character, then that'll increase your damage output. But now we gotta fight 2 dragon riders. Lazy game design? Maybe. But at least the gray one has a lot less health than the red one, so it's not too terrible. Plus they give you an NPC that you can summon out there if you're having trouble. Which, I mean, it's recommended that you summon her too, because it's a bullshit hassle sometimes. So I'm going to let my computer catch up so that my recording program doesn't crash, and I'll see everybody in just a minute. Alright, so we're back at it. Now we're going to finish up Drangleic Castle. Benhart was sitting up against the wall behind me, but he's gone now. I talked to him already and sent him on his way. You sit at the bonfire and he disappears. I'll summon him for the boss fight. So in here, that door is locked in front of us, and you've got to go over to the right and climb up this ladder. And you've got to get this elevator activated. So in the game's original release, there were a lot of stone soldiers in here, and you have to kill something next to that golem statue in the back, and it'll pick up the pot, and you'll hear the elevator get started. Scholar changed it to an equally annoying fight, and there's a probability that I might die doing this. And I really don't know what else to say other than that. I'm just going to have to see how it goes and take as much care as I can. And this is why 2 mannequins, they'll make you bleed. They'll really fuck you up. Okay, so that should turn on the elevator. Now it's just me and 1 mannequin, so this should be manageable. There was a time in 2015 when I was playing this, and I got all the way to Drangleic Castle on New Game Plus. I hadn't died at all, and then I got to this part, and I died so many times. It was just ridiculous. And then over here, we get our friend the Executioner's chariot horses. Oh shit, I didn't think that was close enough to actually hit me. He's got a lot of health, but you got a decent amount of room to fight, so it's not terribly difficult. Okay, I don't know what you're doing, but you need to do something. Even in New Game Plus, these enemies start to get pretty spongy. This guy's got more health than the boss, you can tell. I don't even need to fight this guy, I just want him to drop the item that he has. It's Gower's Ring of Protection, which is helpful if you're worried about getting backstabbed, but I never use it. And then up top you got some old knights. As soon as you kill the hammer knight, there's a sword knight on each side, and there's a mimic chest over there on the left. And as soon as you kill the hammer knight, both of the sword knights come to attack you, so as I have no desire to get into that kind of aggravation, I'm not going to bother going up there to fight. I've already activated the elevator, so I could just warp back to the bonfire, but I'll just go the normal way. And there's a couple of desert sorceress in here. And because their magic is so powerful and it hits so hard in New Game Plus and beyond, I'm just going to magic spam them. And I'll poison the other one. That way we can speed up the process. No, that's totally not what I wanted to do. Alright, and in this chest over here is an Estus Flask shard. So by this point in the game, you should have all 5 Sublime Bone Dusts. And if you don't have all of the Estus Flask shards, there's one more in the Shrine of Amana, but I'm not going to pick that one up because I have to go way out of my way from the way I'm going to play it. and we're about to take the longest elevator ride ever, so I'm probably going to speed this part up in the actual video, so I'm not going to say a word about this. I'm just going to speed it up when I do. Alright, and then when you actually get to the top, on New Game Plus, there's NPC Red Phantom in here. And I think that's the washing pole that he's using. If he gives me any kind of trouble, I'm just going to use the Dark Orb to kill him. But you can just drag him around while you're fighting and keep the cage in between you. The only thing we really need in here is the King's Key. And this will get us into the end game for this castle. So I'm going to speed up the elevator ride again, so give me just one more sec. Alright, and I'm going to rest at the bonfire, that way I can get all of my Estus back. And we'll make the final run. Now, I always thought this area was pretty atmospheric. You see all of these statues on the sides of the passageway, and the ones that have heads, they come to life, so if you kill them before they start coming to life, then you're doing yourself a favor. But if not, you can always run all the way back to the stairs and they won't chase you all the way up into the hallway, so you can either use something with a long reach like a halberd or a club, or in my case they're going to get Dark Orbed. Cheap, but I don't care about cheap. If I'm getting attacked by multiple enemies, I'm going to be as cheap as I need to be. These guys got some pretty devastating combos if you let them get going with those twin blades that they're using. Alright, so there are two NPC phantoms that you can summon. Ashen Knight, the boss, Boyd. And then you can also summon Benhart. And I'm going to summon the both of them because a lot of people thought this boss was a really cool idea when the game was new. You've got the Mirror Knight, and the Mirror Knight hits like a truck. And he can pull players into his world to fight alongside him, and that was cool in Demon's Souls when the actual player was the boss. When you're fighting a boss that does a shit ton of damage to you on top of fighting not an NPC, but on top of fighting a player phantom, that's just a recipe for disaster. I don't like that shit, so rather than have to deal with, in my case it's usually NPC phantoms and the boss, I summon distractions because I don't care. Honestly, I feel like one of those bullshit hosts that would let their phantoms do all the work, but I don't really like this boss. His shield's too big, and a lot of times when I run over to try to hit him, my attacks bounce off of his shield. So as long as he's paying attention to me, I'll let them do all the work for me. Also, this enemy's weak against strike damage, so if you got a mace or a club, that does wonders for you. Now, don't get me wrong, I think the mirror squires were a cool idea, but in the higher game cycles, and I'm just on New Game Plus, but I feel about that, I feel the same way here that I did in New Game 10. When you got a boss that hits so goddamn hard, plus you're having to deal with a real human player, that just doesn't mesh well with PvE, and I think it was just poorly designed and poorly thought out. Now, I did get something meaningful from that, the Ring of Steel Protection plus 2, and then the Baneful Bird Ring that you get from the Iron King DLC. It increases the stability on your shield, so that's real useful too. That's why I was using it. So we'll take this elevator down to the Shrine of Amana, and I'll go to the first bonfire, and then I'll end the episode right there. All said, I've actually been having a decent time playing Dark Souls 2 and recording it. I'm going to leave this recording up forever because this is just going to be the one. I tried to do this a few times before and it just didn't work out because I didn't care. It's no secret that I don't like Dark Souls 2 very much. But I've been having a good time playing it, and it's giving me peace of mind to get this finished. And I'll extend a personal thank you to those of you that encouraged me to do this and being patient with me after so long of not uploading anything. Alright, so I think that'll do it for this episode. I'd like to thank everybody for coming with, and I will see everybody again real soon.